This is an okay hand. I have a rookie for raising, and then I have wisdom, and then like next turn I still have like Peck and Keenan. So I have probably about 2, maybe 3 turns worth of plays, pending memory. So let's keep and see where things go. Red, so probably red hybrids, yeah. This deck can hit really hard and really fast, so that might be a problem for me. On the plus side, I could try to pick apart their hand. So this is probably the best rookie to do in raising, because I want to use these to refresh my effects. So I am going to wisdom first, because that's what I need to grab to try to dig deeper, because I can just use the wisdom to evo into this for free. So the math just means that this just searches me 1 card more, which is really good because now I can choke him, and I found my level 5. So that's pretty good. I just need to find my level 6, maybe a level 7 in my option. The option is optional, but I at least need to find a level 6. I probably should put a card in to be able to, like a calling, to be able to grab stuff back. That's fine because that denies him the draw, because his Digimon couldn't stay around for Koromon, so this works out in my favor. That's pretty okay. So at this point, I'm at 2, so I'm probably just going to develop a Keenan. I could just move out and Digivolve to set it up for free, but then that's putting a body on the field for him to do something with, and I'd rather just not do that. Because single stack decks, it is just better to not give them anything or not do anything and just build a back row and then move out and do a lot. That's the unfortunate nature of like what these cards are promoting, the gameplay style, and he's basically doing almost the same thing, except he has like potential rookies that he could use to like swing, aggress, draw, and not care. Except he doesn't exactly have the trainings, but he is just, well, he is using a training, just because he is probably on... It's weird that he's running this if he's on an Emperor build, because most Emperor builds don't need this. It's an okay card, don't get me wrong, just to shove a whole bunch of hybrids underneath. So he is just going to Digivolve. Interesting. I don't exactly have the best way to respond. So let's just not respond and kind of just see where things go. It's unfortunate that I can't like... I could just have moved out and YOLO'd and hoped that my 2 draws off of evolution would get me there, but I'm not going to be taking that risk. So let's go ahead. Since I have a Keenan, I could Digivolve into here because this isn't literally doing me nothing at this point. That's fine. So now I could either Evo again or dig. So I am going to elect to just Evo because, again, giving him something isn't necessarily the best. Although I could... There is an argument just to dig. I'm just going to dig. Because I still need to find my level 6 pretty desperately. And I did not hit it. So I am going to be taking the Saberdramon just so I could, like, have retaliation. Like, raid retaliation if this does manage to stay alive. So I did end up giving him a memory, just because, again, he needed something on my field to gain benefit. So there was a reasonable argument, but because off of 3 cards, I didn't see my level 6, that means I have a higher chance of seeing my level 6 later. Or, like, I guess sooner. Just because those cards now are put to the bottom, so it pushes my level 6 up. So he is going to be Digi-crossing. He does know that the Tamer falls off, right? Yeah, because there's the Tamer. So he deletes my Digimon. I don't care because he deleted my Digimon by an effect, so I get to gain a memory and draw a card, which is good. And there's the Rave. So we are in a fantastic position. This being on the field is kind of extra spooky, but I could have a way to deal with it. But instead, let's just go ahead and start Digivolving. Oh, that's huge. Okay. So I could have swung because this is the one that lets me Evo from my hand, but because I saw the option, I definitely want to Evo a little bit more efficiently. Because now I can essentially play out this Keenan off of this, assuming it lives the security. It does. And then I can kill his Digimon. Because my Digimon's going to die anyway. And, oh, it's just on delete, play a Falco or Keenan. Okay. So let's go ahead and start making him lose cards from his hand, because that's always fun, working with no cards in hand. Unfortunately, he does get to grab a Tamer back and grab a level 4, so he's still able to play the game, but I'm just trying to make things significantly harder, picking apart what's already in his hand. And I will be setting him to 1, just because of the extra memory gain. Actually, I could maintain turn. Like, there is an argument to maintain turn. But I'm just going to set him to 1. Because I could use this to play out the Keenan. And then the Keenan should be able to trigger off this. Or it might not, but oh well. I'm just going to do it this way just because math-wise it's easier. And then setting up the second Keenan is going to be really good. I could play there is an argument to play the Falcomon, but there's no real reason to. So I'm just going to set up the second Keenan, especially since I just saw the burst mode. So now he gets his on deletes to be able to grab back a hybrid and a tamer, right? He didn't grab anything back. Interesting that he didn't grab anything back and set something up. So now I'm kind of forced to just use a Falcomon down here, which is fine. And then this is where this Falcomon becomes really good, because now it shoves it suspends his Digimon, shoves it underneath, and then I can attack his Digimon. And then burst mode? No, I'll probably burst mode like next turn when I'm a little bit more memory efficient. So he does have memory setter, so this will get deleted, trigger 2, I can maintain turn. So yeah, this works. I don't have another level 5, so I'm just gonna take the level 5. Gain a memory. Gain a memory. Trash a card. And then play from trash a Falcomon. We'll play Searcher. I'll just grab the level 6. That's fine. And then I could just Digivolve into a blocker. And we should be good. So... oh, does this only gain... okay, yeah. So he gets to be at 4, but he has 2 cards in his hand. Like, what's he honestly going to be doing with 2 cards in his hand? He has the flame, so he could dig himself out, but that misses the ancient. So he could take either the flame or the Takuya. He's probably going to take the flame. So he could Evo down here and draw. Oh no, he took the Takuya. Interesting choice. So he's probably just going to hard play Takuya pass. No, he's digivolving. Oh, he wants this to die so Takuya gets set up for free. I mean, he's still making plays work off of literally 2 cards in hand. Okay, so he just has the Takuya. Play a Ravemon for my trash? Yes, I will. And then this is the turn I could burst mode. So I'm going to leave this in raising. Because I have no reason to bring it out. I mean, I could bring it out just for more aggression. But what does burst mode do if they have 7 or fewer? They add a security to hand. And then return. When attacking, return one of the opponent's. One Digimon from your opponent's trash to the bottom to delete all of the opponents with the same name. Okay. So let's go ahead and burst. And then swing. Use. We will get rid of... So that does trigger. But I don't even think it matters at this point. I mean, he gets to play a flame from his hand. Does he? Oh, he... Okay, he has a flame on. But he has nothing to discard, so that's perfectly fine. I just leave this up as a blocker, and I'm okay. Well, there's an argument to swing. So I could just Evo up, actually, thinking about it now. Let's do this one. Because now I can swing into his Digimon. Use Ravemon to Digivolve into the other one this time. Will you delete and play a Ravemon from my track? Yes. So let's gain a memory just to maintain turn. Make him discard the card that he just drew because I'm really mean. And then he's going to go to 3 anyway, so I could set up a Keenan. Like, just play another Tamer. Let's set up this one. And then... Oh, that keeps this around. Did I want that? I mean, he gets to draw off of this. So he has 2 cards to work with. So even though I am leaving myself a little bit vulnerable, yeah, the Yoko was going to make him draw even if I had the blocker anyway. So, oh, because that's the wrong one. That's funny. So he was literally just better off evolving on something else. Oh, does he have the Ancient? I don't particularly care if he kills this because it's just going to come back, right? Oh, it's at the end of my turn. Okay. That's hilarious because that force ends his turn. So now I just move out and I just swing. Offense. Cool. So now we're on to the deck portion of the video, kind of just going down and slightly going over, not anything in depth, the deck that you kind of just saw. I know this was just one isolated game and not everything is going to go that way for this type of a deck because there are some really bad matchups that this deck could end up facing, mostly in the form of anything that has alternative removal types that's not triggering your on-delete abilities. So blue is probably the biggest weakness for this deck because they can source strip our on-delete inheritables away while also being able to just get rid of our Digimon by bouncing it. So that is a way to not trigger the on-deletes, and then black has technically de-digivolve to potentially not trigger our on-deletes and really ruin our game plan. So those are probably the two biggest weaknesses in terms of color matchup for this deck more specifically. Yellow does have just throwing it into security, but that's a little bit less common in terms of removal types. So you do have to keep in mind like your matchups when utilizing a deck like this for where the meta currently is, because even though I do think that the Promo Falcomon is a really strong card that just did a lot of good for this deck on helping your Ravemons be able to accomplish what they're trying to do, which is basically just build up one big super stack and then have the Ravemons die, and because they killed themselves, trigger all of our on-delete abilities. So this isn't necessarily the most optimized build. This is just what I was messing around with, and just by noticing and playing the deck, I do think that maybe like Purple Memory Boost could be swapped out for something like Analog Youth, just because we are having our level 6 die with inheritable abilities quite often, so you could use that as an extra way to be able to dig, make sure cards are going to go into our trash like any extra Ravemons or whatever, and then that's another way to be able to have a good searcher and extra memory generation. I am kind of going back and forth on which Ravemon is actually the better one. I'm leaning more towards EX4 just because jamming, and that supports the EX4 Chromon a little bit better, because one thing I did notice also is maybe sometimes you want to try to utilize what's in your trash, so maybe swapping out one of the removal cards for something like a Calling also would be a really good decision, because it still is a cheap way at that, to be able to delete our Digimon and still trigger all of its on-delete effects and be able to grab Digimon back that we need out of our trash to reuse. So that could be another potential customization point, and that's kind of why like Saberdramon is like the only off card in here. It's a good card, don't get me wrong, but it's not like hardcore mandatory. It is in archetype, but the thing that's holding this card back for this type of a deck is mostly its higher evolution cost, so that's why I'm running it as a 1-of, and then the rest of the level 4s I'm running as 4-ofs because they're just in archetype, and everything in this deck is for the most part in archetype. So you have the level 3s that all have the inheritable ability to make the opponent discard cards, so you pair that up with the level 4s and they're going to be discarding 2 cards. The level 5s are ways to be able to digivolve into our Raves, which just increases the usability of our cards overall in case we actually want to try to utilize these cards. So obviously the main one is the EX4 Crow because I'm maining EX4 Rave over the BT13. But the BT13 is really good at helping us reset some of our cards, play some extra tamers out, and the burst mode's in here just because, well, it's a burst mode. It's not that strong of a card, but it's still a pretty good card nonetheless to have just to get some extra damage in. So it's just a nice addition to the deck to try to act as a good game closer, more than just something to throw out. But for the most part, it is a fairly simple deck, and there is room for like customization outside of what I just mentioned, because Outside of Falcomon, we do actually have a couple of different ways to add cards into our inheritables. The easiest two is obviously going to be a recharge plugin, just because we're going to be running tamers, and the security tech minus out of security isn't necessarily bad, and it actually could give our Digimon battle protection, so that way they kind of are forced to delete our Digimon alternatively, which is really nice at A, keeping our Digimon around, and to be able to trigger its on delete effect, and B, throwing it under for the inheritable to actually make Ravemon work. Then the other main card that you could throw in, just as a quick example, is the X Antibody. It literally isn't doing anything other than just a free source that can't be stripped, so it kind of helps protect against the blue a little bit, so you could at least maintain an inheritable. But I'm sure there's a couple of different ways to be able to get sources outside of those and Falcomon, but I wanted to put the attention and focus on showing off and showcasing what the promo Falcomon can do for this type of a deck. Even though this deck isn't going to be tier 1 meta competitive, it's still a really fun and interesting deck that has lots of different usability and playability off of its cards and is doing some really fun and exciting things. So feel free to give this deck a try. Feel free to make any of the changes that I kind of was talking about when it comes to actually editing and customizing the deck, and tell me your thoughts about the deck down in the comments below. And if you like this type of content, also make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video.